Today is an interview I had a couple months back with Jeff. Jeff is a virtual assistant from the Philippines. He applied to Talented for a client of ours and is still working with them to this day. I really enjoyed speaking with him, and I hope this interview gives you an idea for the kind of talent you can find in the Philippines. Let's hop over to Jeff.
Well, to start, I'd love if you could walk me through a bit about what your journey has been, because I saw you started off in customer support many years ago and then moved through a couple different stuff, product trainer and then sales executive and then consultation. So I'd love for you to walk me through what that journey has been today.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for asking that. I attribute my journey through one guy, Mike O'Hara. So I met him when I was in TELUS. He was one of our clients. I know you've reviewed my resume, but when I met him, I'm the type of guy that goes after things that would help me grow as a person. Obviously, I work because I need the money to feed my family, but more than that, my decision from moving from one company to the other is really about asking myself this one question: if I go here, will I grow as a person? That's one.
Yeah.
When I say that, that there's a little different avenues to that. One is personally as a father and as a husband, what can I get out of this job? Okay. Number two, the people I work with, can they contribute something to me personally? And then the third avenue is obviously the career path, the monetary goals. I got a dollar amount in my mind that I should at least earn for that year, for that month, and that has to be met. So those are the three. So my journey has been driven by the philosophy that he taught me. Make sure that these three questions get answered before you do anything, whether it's moving to a new company. And then I sort of follow the same philosophies when I deal with, like when I'm speaking to you. In the back of my mind, automatically happens, if I talk to Zach right now, what am I going to get out of it? Hopefully a job, but that's one. But at the very least, when I walk away, I want to learn something about you, share something about myself, but overall to grow as a person. So that's basically what drives me.
Wonderful. Can you walk me through what the journey has been from some of your recent roles, like maybe starting with the client services manager and then up to the more recent ones?
Yeah, with the assistant PH, that as a client service manager, this was just a group of 8 guys that decided to pull their resources and start a small company. So I know it says client service manager, but really it's just 8 guys. We're all managers. So the first few months with the company, we were essentially our own VAs. We were selling ourselves, trying to find clients. So I got started with an Australian client in the morning, and then transitioned to some guy in Florida selling houses. So he was buying fixer-uppers.
Okay.
So I was calling nonstop people, and mostly in the East and Central states, and then asking them if they're willing to sell their house, figuring out if my boss or my client would be making money out of it if they bought the house, and how much it would cost to fix it, and if it'd be worth sending somebody over there. So I did that for the first 8 months with the job, and then finally we landed our first client, and then that's when I transitioned as a role of a client service manager. Like you, I'm speaking to you, selling the service. They're sort of judging the company based on how their interaction with me would go. So I would, for the first few minutes, I would be selling myself, and then I would sell the service, and it went well, at least for the first 2 years. But the pandemic happened. We were blindsided. We couldn't really maintain the office.
You had an
half
office.
of us, yeah, we did.
Okay.
Back then, we weren't ready to go fully remote. And 2 of our American partners had to go back to the States because just before everybody got locked down. So we kind of got out of touch with each other, and then we decided to call it quits. Just pay off the last month for the lease of the office and let everybody go. So I had to survive. So one of the guys I mentioned that went back was Mike O'Hara. We stayed in touch, but he said he wasn't really ready yet to start again. So I had to make ends meet by applying for a full-time remote position at First Person Solution as a
Mhm.
business sales executive. I was selling the services of Uma.
Of what?
Uma, it's actually a VoIP service like Vonage, Magic Jack. I don't know if you've heard it.
Okay, interesting.
So the really interesting part about that was I did have VoIP experience with my first call center with VX, but that was like a long time ago. So I needed to really brush up with the technology, with the market. Plus, after just 2 weeks of calling, one of the managers approached me. Hey, looks like you have a lot of experience handling a sales team. So he assigned me a sales team, and I got dropped with a team that was having no success in a small area in Texas. So I had to figure out creative ways to penetrate the market because everybody knows about Vonage, everybody knows about AT&T, everybody knows about all these other telecoms that are way bigger than us. And when they call them, hey, this is we're servicing Uma, blah blah blah, and then it wasn't really working. And then I had to figure out a creative way to train my team, because mind you, they have no problem with the pitch. Everybody knows the pitch. It's just that they don't have, they're not getting far enough in the call. People are just hanging up on them, and they're not interested. We already have a service. So stuff that was working elsewhere wasn't really working with my team here.
Okay.
So for the first 3 weeks, I guess I was experimenting, doing. I watched heavily a lot of videos, and I even watched. What really found helpful was I watched these videos where people were taking their camera, their GoPro, and just walking around towns in Texas.
What? How did that help?
I mean, it really helped because I'm a big believer in your mindset. So I would imagine myself, okay, I got to figure out how to talk to these people. And the
Okay.
best way to do it, since I can't buy a plane ticket and go there, and plus it's the pandemic. So I started watching these videos where they would walk around, and then sometimes a guy that would have the GoPro would speak to people on the street. And then I started figuring out small quirks,
Really?
yeah. So okay. So that's how they talk. So I
Like
started
what? Were you
imagining
learning slang?
not really the slang itself, because to be honest, if you can't see me in the camera, I could pretty much get away with it. I could tell you I'm an immigrant, but I've been living in the U.S. I'd probably get away with it, but that's not really the thing. What I developed was put yourself in the shoes of the people that you're trying to sell to.
Hmm.
Forget about the product, forget about a pitch, just engage in a conversation. And that was my approach in training my team. So
Yeah.
surprisingly, we started to get further and further into the call, up to the point that we started to see people signing up for the service.
Wow.
So that was my journey with Uma. And plus, I figured out that instead of obsessing about the result, on a call, get the sale, I sort of taught them to obsess about the process instead. And why I say that is because I liken it to you going to the gym. Day one, you're pumping iron, you're doing the exercises, right? First week, 2 weeks, you're hardly gonna see any success, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to continue with the process because you see people have already been successful. You see guys that are really jacked up, whether they're using enhancers, but you see people that if you stick with this process, you're eventually going to see success. Maybe not in the first few weeks, maybe not in the first month, but eventually, if you're obsessed about the process, not the results, just the process, you eventually get results. So that's what I taught them. Don't worry about getting the sale. You're too worried about getting them signed up. No, don't do that. Just have a conversation, ask about their day, what their service is like. Perhaps when the time is right, ask about their service, and then interject maybe a few things about Uma, but not to a point where it's going to sound weird. That's what I did, and it was very effective until the point there that we were getting a lot of sales. We were actually the top team just before I left First Person Solution. And the reason probably you're asking why did I leave if I was so successful? It's because Mike O'Hara finally had enough resources to start his own company again, and that's IT cloud providers. So he gave me a call, and like I said, this guy really had a lot to teach me. I really, whatever success I have, I attributed to him. He really gave me a lot of good advice. He trained me. So I jumped at the opportunity to work with him again. So I was with IT cloud providers. Unfortunately, he had some health issue. Just recently, he found out that he had to battle cancer,
Oh wow.
and it was really tough. I mean, it was throat cancer, so he was having a hard time. So when he got diagnosed, he had the decision to sell the business.
Hmm.
But the guy that he sold it to in the Philippines has an office in Cebu, which is a whole different island from where I live. And
What island are you on?
I'm in Luzon, the
Okay.
bigger island
Wonderful.
up north.
Yeah.
So he was asking me to, hey, I got a whole team set up here. I can even send you money to relocate. I was kind of weighing my options. Okay, but it's too much. If I can work fully remote, then I'm all for it. But what he
Hmm.
wanted was for managers to at least spend maybe 2 weeks, 2 days, sorry, not 2 weeks, 2 days out of 5 days, 2 days in the office. And I can't do that if I'm in a different island. So my wife and I talked about it. It's not really something that we're looking for. So I decided to say goodbye last May.
Hmm.
And here I am talking to you now.
Wonderful. That was a great walkthrough. You sound like a motivational speaker, Jeff.
Oh, thank you.
So have you been working on anything since that ended in May, or just been on the job search?
Mostly in the job search, but I had, funny you would say that I'm a motivational speaker. I've been doing contractual training here and there,
Okay.
training sales team locally, mostly for insurance companies. And then oddly enough, I was contacted by an agency that were sending nurses to Canada. That was
Okay.
a first for me. I mean, I have no experience with the healthcare industry at all, but they wanted me to help their potential the nurses that we're sending to sound more Canadian. That was weird, but so I don't know. I just gave them how to neutralize their accent or whatnot. But it paid the bill, so yeah.
Wonderful. What job has been your favorite one to be a part of? Probably one with your mic friend.
With Mike O'Hara.
Yeah.
I think I'm really good at sales. That's one. I like giving presentations. I'm most alive when I'm in a Zoom call or maybe
I
a
could
Google
tell.
Meet call. Yeah. And then I'm presenting to CEOs. The guys would look grumpy and ask me, well, why should I even pay you guys? You're not even in the same country as I am. They'd be straightforward. I've closed accounts where people would be upfront about that. I'm not comfortable hiring you, primarily because if you're going to be training my people, or if you're going to be selling your product, you have to be an American.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in meetings where that was the main issue, that was the main roadblock, and I was able to find creative ways to get around it.
Wonderful. So
And
which one of the roles do you think has been your favorite?
the one in the assistant PH is the client service manager.
Yeah.
And I find working with Uma as a business sales executive was really fulfilling, just because I was able to discover stuff about myself that I didn't really know. I mean, first person solution FPS really didn't have a training team. They just got people that had massive sales experience, and you just give them access to a calling app, and that's it. No scripts, no nothing.
Yeah. So what did a typical day look like for you in that role?
Typical day would be I start out with a prayer. Weird as it sounds, I'm very religious. I start out with a prayer. I try to get myself, like I said, mindset is very important for me. I get myself in the zone, whether that would be watching videos, reading a few passages from any of my favorite books, even speaking with my wife. She's a better salesperson than I am.
Really? Wow.
But don't tell her. She okay. Yeah, she has a lot of great ideas that I've been able to implement in my career.
That's wonderful.
That's a typical day, and then I go through my emails, messages, my tasks. I'm a type of person, Zach, where I work with lists. I'm very methodical. So I usually prioritize my tasks for a day. That's what I do. Even if you don't give me a task, I would find tasks for myself. I can't survive without a list. Check boxes. That's what
Yeah.
I. Otherwise, I'd be all over the place. As you can tell, I probably am over the speed limit when it comes to talking and speaking at the same time, and then thinking at the same time. So if I don't bridle myself with a checklist, I'm going to be all over the place. So that's why I live off a list to organize myself.
Yeah, wonderful.
That's it.
When you were in first person solutions, how do you think some of the people you worked with would describe you as a person?
I guess two words that often comes up. Number one would be adventurous. I don't know. That often comes up. We have exercises where we sort of tell each other what kind of impression we give, and oftentimes they would say adventurous. Number two would be energetic.
Why adventurous? Energetic is obvious. I get that. Adventurous. What were you guys doing that would lead you to be adventurous?
I think that's a word that they most often, because they're trying. Most of these are well, actually all of them are Filipino, so they're transliterating from the Filipino word for adventurous into English. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you speak to Americans and English speakers about it, but they're transliterating. So the closest word they can think of is adventurous, but what it essentially means in Filipino is someone that's not afraid to find different ways or find new means to achieve their goal. So that's basically me. So I guess the word that they're actually looking for is adaptable, but they end up using adventures because they're transliterating.
I would say, yeah, I don't know. I feel like ambitious maybe, because like, what was the one you said? What was the second word you said that you think it's more like?
It's like, yeah, I think instead of adventurous, it'd be adaptable.
Yeah, adaptable doesn't have the same emotion.
Right.
Adventurous does. So adventurous is good, but I get what you're saying. Maybe like ambitious, I would say is a good word for that. Awesome. Those are great descriptors to go by, energetic and adventurous. So you've had a couple different like types of roles, I would say, and you were in those training roles. Actually, I'd like to ask more about the training roles that you were in. Is that something that you set out to do, is to be a leader, a trainer, or is that something that you were pushed into?
I wouldn't say pushed into, but going back to Mike O'Hara, the guy that mentored me, she said, hey, you have a lot of sales experience, a lot of, you've been a product trainer. So first time I met him, I was in TELUS. He was one of the clients there, and I was a product trainer. And he said, you really light up when you speak to a large group of people. And then why don't you pursue that? And then he started sharing videos about Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, if you've heard of him, some of these other motivational speakers, John Maxwell. The first book of John Maxwell, I borrowed it from him.
Okay.
And then I did discover that I have a flair, if you can call it that. I have a flair for training people. I feel most alive. I think that's the reason why I love, and I say this without trying to butter myself up so you can hire me, Zach. But I really love having a conversation. I guess that's why I have a lot of success in sales and in training and development. I really light up when I speak to people. That's my favorite thing. I mean, if I have one reason for being, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
So I love standing in a room, just listening to a great speaker, learning about what he has to teach. And if I'm given the opportunity to speak, I don't shy away. I don't shy away from it.
Awesome.
So that's basically me. I mean, I love it.
So there's no wrong answer to this question, but would you say that you are? I just want to find out, what works best for you. Would you say you're more comfortable in very people-heavy roles and less like alone or data? And are you the kind of person who thrives off of working with people, whether it be training directly with Filipinos or interacting directly with customers or clients? Is that more your area of enjoyment?
I guess Yeah, that's actually a great question. I've given a lot of thought about that, how I operate. One thing to answer your question directly about working alone, I can. As far as developing courses, training materials, figuring out how to improve. So, if, say for example, you drop me in a role where there's a sales team that's not really performing for the past few weeks, just like what happened with FPS with first person solution. I
Mhm.
probably would need a few days to a week to research what's going on.
Definitely.
So I can work alone in that case. I definitely need to work alone, do my research, maybe ask a few staff here and there, what have you been doing differently? Your sales were great the first few weeks. What happened? Why it suddenly dropped? And that I could work alone. However, I also can work with a large group. I need to work with people.
Mhm.
I guess that's where my strength comes in. I love speaking with agents, coaching them, giving them feedback. But at the same time, I'm a big believer that you have to walk the walk, talk the talk. Um, so I would not ask you to do something that I myself have not tried. If you're talking about leadership position method, that's probably how I would lead the charge in front, not like some
Yeah.
general with a chair at the back. I'm more comfortable leading the charge in front. I wouldn't ask you
Wonderful.
to do something if I haven't tried it myself. That's one. I'm also good with reports. I've handled CRMs. I'm somewhat good with data analyzing, but I got to qualify that. I'm not really an analytical person, so to speak.
Hmm.
I don't think I have the right qualification to be an analyst. However, as far as figuring out why a script isn't working, maybe hiring. I did that in the assistance PH client service manager, figuring like what you're doing right now, interviewing applicants, figuring out matching them with the right client. I think I have a knack for that. Especially with Filipino VAs. If I speak to them, I get them comfortable. You assign me a client to figure out who I should assign to them. I talk to the client directly. I sort of act like a bridge. I really feel that I excel in that role as well.
Wonderful. And with Mike O'Hara, what do you think are some of the best, or what do you think is one best lesson you learned from him?
This is going to sound weird. Uh, just the last time we talked, when he could still talk, he said that nothing else matters but family.
Hmm.
So, and that was it was eerie because the last time, just before we ended the Zoom call, that was he, with his husky voice and said, nothing else matters but family. And this is coming from a guy that has a terminal illness.
Hmm.
So, see, I think what he meant was that everything that we do in life has to revolve around what I can leave with my children. And that's why I have to improve myself, both in what I'm doing in my job and in my personal life. Because eventually, the people that will be inheriting all this knowledge that I've accumulated, it's not going to be my boss, not going to be my coworkers. At the end of the tunnel, it's going to be my children.
Mhm.
So when he said nothing else matters but family, number one, I have to provide for them. Number two, I have to be the right type of person. I have to live with integrity. If I tell my children it's bad to lie, then I myself should not be lying. And I should be. That's probably why I love working with people. I guess Zach, because I see them as family as well. Not my real family, but in somewhat, I think my success would have to do would be dependent on how I can. If you give me a role, say we'll work with your company, work with a client. In some ways, some degree, I have to see them like family.
Mhm.
How I treat my children, how I speak with my wife, how I will speak to my father and mother. Uh, I have to be able to teach myself how to see them as family for me to be successful.
How many kids do you have?
I got five.
Five.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, that family's definitely important to you. It's all you're doing. Oh my God. How is that having five kids?
Um, it's great. The way I could describe it is, it's like breaking a bronco. A horse. If I was a cowboy,
Mm.
the first few minutes are wild. The horse is trying to throw you off its back. You're trying to figure out, hey, hey, buddy, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
I'm not here to hurt you. Why are you doing this to me? It's taking you for a wild ride. It's throwing you off, kicking. It wants to hurt you. But eventually, if you stay on it long enough, It will eventually learn that, hey, this guy's not trying to hurt me. I mean, he
Yeah.
can't. He's smaller than me. My kids are. There's just five. There's five of them, just one of me.
Wow, man. Well, I can't imagine what your day to day looks like with that. That's pretty crazy. What do you think it might be related to this too. What do you think is the most challenging time in your life that you've had to overcome?
During the pandemic, I guess, with the assistant PH, everyone is what was going on. Now we can't go to the office, but
Mhm.
we still have to pay the rent. So it was weird. All our equipment, our computers, fax machines, everything was in the office, but all of a sudden we were told that we can't go to the office. So that was pretty challenging. Everyone is blindsided by it was a worldwide event. It was a pandemic, and no one really knew what to expect. But I had to adapt. I had to learn. I had to find a job. That was my first time to go fully remote,
Mhm.
not working.
What do
from
you
an
think
office.
helped you get through that emotionally?
Number one was my wife, my kids, and the people I work with, my friends in the assistant PH. Their family. That's why I said nothing matters but family. Mike was a father figure to me. And then, although we weren't really working, we tried our best to stay in touch with each other, share our experiences, and that really helped out. That helped me see it through.
That's wonderful. Is there a moment in your career that you'd say you're not proud of?
Yep. When I had to let people go, uh, tell them how they can get their final pay.
Mm.
Some of it was heartbreaking to say the least. I had a mother, or would-be mother. She was pregnant, and she actually cried in the Zoom call
Yeah, I
when
can imagine.
she said that, sir, I really need this job. Is there any way to, but there's really no more money. All our clients had to leave, most of them. Um, that was very difficult. Hopefully I don't encounter that same situation again, where I
Yeah.
would say goodbye to one person and then another one would be waiting and like in one day, I think I had to tell people, like 8 people, that they
Wow.
weren't, yeah, that was
That's tough.
draining.
That's tough. I've only had to do one at a time. I can't imagine doing 8 in a day.
Yeah, in a day. Yeah.
That'd be pretty taxing. Wow. Were you like, I guess this sounds weird, but were you numb after a couple? Or
I
did it
wanted to.
still hurt? Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, so what do you see for yourself in the next couple of years? What's your vision for the future?
I really want to write a book.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean I've gotten started.
Okay.
Not as consistently as I want to. It's not as easy as some people make it out to be, but I'm writing a few chapters here and there, refining. So I think there's not enough material in the Philippines that caters to VAs and Filipinos who want to work remotely. I
Mhm.
mean, the culture here, especially in the BPO, is starting to be somewhat like in India, where people are just like herded like cattle.
Mm.
Even if they're not really qualified, they just need numbers, fill
Mhm.
those seats, and somewhat the remote, the work from home setting is still shielded from that type of scenario, but it's starting to become that way, where you get a lot of Filipinos are dropped into this role with they're not even equipped. So I want to be able to remedy that. If there's one thing I really want to leave as my life work, apart from
Mhm.
my children, is that leave something like a training manual, maybe a module, to currently help, especially people that want to work from home.
That's wonderful. And what about your career for the next couple of years?
For my career, depending on the role you're going to assign me, I wanted to be able to do good, grow at the same time, meet a lot of people, learn from you if I get the opportunity. I mean, I hope I'm not too presumptuous, but I can tell that you have a lot to contribute.
Thank you.
I'm usually a pretty good judge of character, so I can tell if somebody has something to put in the piggy bank, as I would say, to add. That's really what I'm after. I mean, obviously the money's nice, but more I'm after if I work with these people, if I work with this guy, would I be able to grow? If there's something that could add to my, the value of my life.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Jeff, that's all the questions I had for you. I have another meeting to get to, but I really appreciate your time. I will schedule, or I'll be sending information off to our client and see if they want to schedule a follow-up. If that one doesn't work out, I'll have you in our queue because you obviously are you have great character, I can tell. So I would love to see what I can do for you. In the meantime, feel free to apply to other jobs, do what you got to do. Just keep me informed. I'm interested to hear if you have some other opportunities. But I really appreciate your time, man. It was great talking to you.
Me too, Zach. Thank you so much for having me. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.